There was one book I read a couple years ago that was a DNF. For me, it was too scary.
Oh,
And so I'll check these books out and see if I can be converted to read some ghost stories.
yeah. It's interesting because I was trying to think of ghost stories that aren't paranormal horror. 'Cause I feel like Welcome to the More Magic Book Club podcast, a podcast for fantasy readers dying to talk about the latest fantasy book you read and loved. Each month, we discuss a recent fantasy novel in detail, so you know you're not the only one who hated that character or wanted to move into that fantasy world. And you also don't have to worry about exhausting your friends who just don't get it. I'm your host, Demi Utley, an author and avid fantasy reader who also runs the More Magic newsletter over on Substack.
And I'm your co-host, Marianne Boules. I am a children's picture book author, corgi mother, and Brandon Sanderson fan, although we prefer to call ourselves Sandy Heads.
So excited to dive into our latest read with you and can't wait to hear what you thought. Since we're discussing the book in detail, there may be a few spoilers, so listen at your own risk. And now it's time for us to dive into this month's book. Welcome, everyone, to the next episode of the More Magic Book Club podcast. Not sure where you are, wherever you're listening to this, but here in Portland today, it is starting to feel like fall. The leaves are just showing the earliest signs. They're starting to look almost yellow, like they're thinking about turning colors. So I'm definitely getting into that mood at the middle of September. But Marianne, you are in California. So that's not what we think of when we think of the fall season.
I just want to go on the record and let everybody know that just because you can't see me, but I am snapping my fingers with attitude, just because California doesn't have, let's say, the cliche fall aesthetic does not mean we don't have a fall. So, for example, did you know that I stopped using my air conditioning? That is a telltale sign that fall is upon us. And I'll come up with the second one soon. But
Well, and you're breaking out your fall reads, I would assume. You're
yes.
getting into that season.
And
Yeah.
so that takes me to my second point, which is that in California, fall is something that is manufactured. So we
This
have
is
the
very
fall
true.
feeling. Yeah. The
Yeah.
pumpkin spice latte is a rite of passage for me. That usually, I know people make fun of that because people hate to love good things. They hate to love on good things, but that I always get my pumpkin spice latte from somewhere. The books, of course, like we'll be talking about. And I also have a working fireplace. So,
Oh,
and we use that fireplace again, mainly for just for the vibes, but not that we really need it.
that's so funny. The nice thing about books is that we can enjoy them wherever we are and whether our fireplace is real and lit because it's cold and you're in Vermont or it's California. And I mean, honestly, sometimes we're just using the fireplace on the TV just to have like the vibe without smoke. So setting the tone or lighting a candle or whatever. Yeah, one of my favorite things is definitely the excuse to just stay inside and read a book. So for today's episode, we are doing something a little different. Instead of diving into one book, we're going to share some of our favorite fall reads. And we are doing this from different categories. So we're going to talk about witches, because who does not love a witch book? Ghost stories or horror stories, but I'd say more on the ghost side of things rather than horror. And then we have stories about, vampires, werewolves, any sort of kind of creature type story like that. We're going to end with general fall vibes and then go into the books that we want to read for fall books that we haven't read yet. So that's what we're going to talk about today. And we're also not going to have spoilers on this. So this will be spoiler free. So don't worry if you haven't read any of these books. We're not going to spoil them for you. So you can listen and enjoy without any worry about us running the book.
I'm super excited, Demi. Let's do it.
So let's start with witches, our favorite books about witches. I personally am obsessed with witches, but I only have two books because I feel like so many of the witches that I love are TV shows, which often are created from books. So I need to go read the original books. But the one witch book that I always think about in the fall is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. Have you read that one?
No, and every year I tell myself that this is the year I'll read it, and then every year fall passes me by. But maybe this fall. Stay tuned.
It's it's good. It definitely has a lot of vibes because most of it because it's a trilogy. So the first one is mostly at Oxford, if I remember correctly. I think about half of it's set at Oxford, and it's in the fall, and it ends on Halloween. The last scene is actually on Halloween, which isn't a spoiler because it's just like the timeline. Yeah, so it's perfect for fall and has witches, has vampires, has a bunch of magic and mystery. So it's a lot of fun. And it is actually a TV show now. I don't know exactly where you can watch it, but you could go look that up. The show is actually really good. They film it at Oxford too, so that also has a lot of the fall vibes. So
I
yeah,
did watch it, and it was really the fact that it was set in Oxford is what sucked me in. I stopped watching it. I don't remember why, because lately I just haven't been able to watch TV that much, like long form storytelling. Recently, I'm very much a casual viewing, like MasterChef, but I was really intrigued by the plot, so I might switch over and read the book instead.
yeah, I feel like the book is good because the show, I mean, not to get too sidetracked, but the show does, I think it's 10 episodes and the book's pretty long. So they kind of condense it a lot. So I've heard from some people that they thought the show moved too quickly and the book, it doesn't move as fast as the show. So you're able to get into the world a little bit more, definitely have more of the magic and the vibes. And she's a professor. So there's all these books. It's very academia like
Yeah.
setting.
There
Very
was a
fall.
period I remember now when I watched it, I ended up switching over to YouTube and watching Oxford students a day in the life because I was so into
Ooh,
the
I've never seen
Oxford,
that.
like, and if anyone's ever been to Oxford, there is something so magical about Oxford.
Yes, I feel like that when I went there, I was like, I feel it just feels like magic. I mean, partly
A fairy
because
can
Harry
land at
Potter's
any moment.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, because Harry Potter was filmed there. But even beyond that, like, I feel like the city just walking around, I just have a distinct memory of walking around at night. And then we turned a corner and there's a building that's just from, 1100 or something insane. It does not happen here in the US typically. So, yeah, I love Oxford. This is just like an Oxford promotion podcast.
Oxford will, City of Oxford travel agency, we will take sponsorships. So DM us.
Or a free trip. We will also do that as well.
Yeah.
Okay, so then another book that I have personally read about witches, I have on here, it's Magic Lessons by Alice Hoffman. And so Alice Hoffman is who wrote Practical Magic. So this is the book of their ancestors. So if you've seen the movie, I haven't actually read the book Practical Magic. I've only seen the movie, which I love. But in the movie, they start out talking about their ancestor who puts the curse on their family where they can never fall in love, basically. And so this book is about her and why she puts the curse. And it's a lot of fun. It's set, I think, it's like on the East Coast, the same area where Practical Magic is set. And it's very, actually, I think it starts out in England in the beginning, but it's, kind of pilgrim time, like Salem. I don't know if it's exactly the Salem witch trials time period, but it has that kind of feel. So it's definitely good for fall, and then also thinking kind of about like Thanksgiving type energy. So it's fun like that. I did really like that book because it was fun just to learn more about that family and kind of the origins of all that because my family is obsessed with practical magic. So I just wanted to recommend that one. If no one has read it, I highly recommend it.
I would love to read it as well. Again, obsessed with the movie. I watched a bunch of YouTube videos about the house itself and the design set because, I mean, I'm sure anyone who's watched the movie knows that that is like the dream home. So,
Yes. We tried to go see it because when I lived in Bellingham, they actually recorded a lot of the movie on Whidbey Island. So you can go see where the town was filmed. And so we wanted to see like any of the town scenes. So we wanted to go see the house, but it was on a random island and they, I think, destroyed it after filming it. Like they tore it down or
what
something.
a shame.
Yeah. But that house is so just like iconic and very magical. Oh my gosh. Even just the
Right?
house. Yeah.
Right. So for me, Demi, my witchy book would be Garden Spells by Sarah Addison Allen. It also has a sequel called First Frost, but that might be more for winter. So
Mm.
make of the title what you will. or, the transition between fall and winter. I really loved it when I read it a couple of years ago because, again, it's about two sisters who are also witches, very practical magic-y in that sense.
Ooh, okay.
And I believe they live in North or South Carolina, somewhere like that, really tiny. But I remember what really enchanted me was that their magic is in the food that they bake. So they
Ooh.
bake, apple tarts and cupcakes, and it's all from the garden in their backyard is what has the magic.
Oh,
And
that's
so,
cool.
yeah, I
Yeah.
thought that was just something really sweet about that, about the place. So the place itself is also magical in addition to the two sisters. And it's really about two sisters going through life. Again, I kind of almost wonder who was inspired by whom, because one sister is very rebellious and goes to the West Coast and maybe pays the price a little bit. And the other sister is like a goody little two shoes who's never left the four walls of her house. So kind of practical magic. but but regardless, I think it's a great book and also highly recommend if you just want something, has some darker themes, but very sweet ending and very sweet story.
Mm-hmm. Is it cozy fantasy or is it just a
I wouldn't say cozy fantasy because the rebellious sister really gets herself into some trouble, like big trouble.
Ooh,
So
okay,
I
I like
wouldn't
that.
say cozy. Yeah, there were parts where I'm like, don't want to read this. So there's parts that but the payoff is really nice.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna have to check that out. I haven't even heard of that. Do you know how old it is when it was released?
2007. I'm on the Goodreads page
Oh,
right now. Yeah.
oh, okay. Yeah, I completely missed that one. I'm definitely gonna check that out. That sounds like something I would love. Okay, so let's talk about ghost stories. So when I wrote this category down, I apparently don't read a ton of ghost stories because it took me a little bit to like think like I know I've read ghost books, but yeah, a lot of them are like short stories or something like that, or a movie or something. So if anyone listening has good ghost stories that are actual novels, not horror, because I feel like that's an entirely different area, but fantasy stories that have ghosts. So one that I read a couple years ago, it's Ninth House by Lee Bardugo. So in that the main character can actually see ghosts and ghosts do play a role in the story. It also has more dark academia vibes. I would say this one is heavier on the dark academia versus just like general academia. So it has, if you want a ghost story and then also an academic setting, I think it's set at Yale, if I remember correctly, or not, or maybe Harvard. It's somewhere like that in New England, one of those big universities. So it's really good. That's a book where in the moment I felt like uncomfortable reading it almost like I would with horror, but I wouldn't classify this one as horror, but it had that like that kind of tension you want like for the fall of like, ooh, this is kind of spooky. And also it's set at a university. So yeah, that's a good one to recommend. I will say that the magic in it has some, I don't want to spoil it, but it has some of it has like a little bit of gore, but it's not, I wouldn't say it's gratuitous, but just be warned if you are squeamish. There are some descriptions. I would kind of skip those paragraphs. Be like, I don't want to read that, but it wasn't a ton. So that's definitely not the main part of the book. And then the other ghost book that I had is Sabriel by Garth Nix, which is a really good. I don't remember if this is YA or if it's adult, but in this book, the main character, I believe, is a necromancer who
Freaky.
yeah, and so there's a lot of stuff in it with it's been long since I read it, but I distinctly remember a scene with kind of like ghosts in the underworld and things like that. So that's one that I also want to recommend because I loved that book. It's been so long since I read it. I'm gonna have to read it again. But I think that would be a good fall book for anyone. It is set in another world though. It's not set in our world. So
Well, thanks,
yeah.
Demi, because as you know, we're both looking at the same document that we shared. I have no ghost story recommendations. So there was one book I read a couple years ago that was a DNF. For me, it was too scary.
Oh
And so I'll check these books out and see if I can be converted to read some ghost stories.
yeah, I like it's interesting because I was trying to think of ghost stories that aren't paranormal horror, because I feel like a lot of times that's where how it falls into that category. I'm like, but I know because Harry Potter, for example, has ghosts, and
Good point.
there are other stories that have ghosts. And I'm like, man, I really haven't read any recently, so it makes me want to kind of search those out. I'm curious because I think I have it on my TBR for this episode. I want to read Cemetery Boys. I don't know exactly what that's about, but since it says cemetery, I'm like, there must be ghosts in it. So we will see. Do you want to share some of your, vampire, werewolves, any sort of kind of Halloween-y creature type books?
Yes, this is where I can shine. I have 4 recommendations. So, first one is our first YA novel, young adult novel for this episode, which is the entire works of Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children.
Hmm.
I ravaged those books. Like I went through, I can't even remember. I think there was like 10 or something. I read every single one back to back to back, went to the library, just finished it all. And the movie is really good too. And what I thought was really interesting about this book is that the author was inspired by old-timey photos that were a little weird. Actually, it probably could fit in the ghost stories section because I think that there's a ghostly element to the story. But yeah, just like it has everything you want. It has everything you want in a book. Really, even like, as I get older, I'm less and less intrigued by young adult stuff, high schooler saving the day, which is fine because I am in my 30s. But this book, I'll probably come back to in another couple of years because it's just that good.
Oh yeah, I haven't read it. Is it set in our world?
It's set in our world and there's a ghostly realm or another realm. Basically, kids who are a little weird, who don't fit in, kind of get put into this magical realm. That's kind of like that's with operating within our human basic boring realm. And there's a big bad. I don't want to say too much, but it's really good.
Ooh, that sounds good. Yeah.
And the pictures in the book are real. So these are real, actual photos that the author found. And he kind of tied a plot together based off of these old photos from the 1800s.
Oh, that's cool. I love a creepy old photo.
Yeah. I'll see if I could find some. Maybe we could put some in the show notes, Demi, just to show, like, for example, a picture where it almost looks like 2 girls standing like connected to each other, but like there's some kind of ghostly plasma connecting them, stuff like that. I'll see if we could put some in the show notes. So that's one. The other one that I would put in is The Gargoyle by Andrew Davidson. I barely remember this book, but I remember just being smitten by it. It's about a man who is living a difficult, hard life, and he's a burn victim. And this woman named Marianne, which is the first time in my entire life I've actually seen someone with my name as a main character and not an old lady. So it's really nice. So there might be some bias.
A little bit of bias.
But she comes to him and she tells him that they have been lovers since the 13th century, basically cursed to almost come to each other and never quite meeting. And so as he's healing in the hospital, she's just telling him story after story of their entire life together throughout history. And
oh my gosh, that sounds good. Yeah.
It's very good. I don't even really remember the plot. I just remember that feeling of this was beautiful. This was beautiful.
Is it adult or is it?
Very adult. Very adult. Yeah. I don't want to get into it, but if he's living a difficult life, let's just say.
Okay. Oh, yeah. Okay. I'll have to check that out. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm glad I'm winning you over. I mean, I'm spinning a great tale here.
I know. I'm like, I don't have time to read all these fall books. I'm going to just like pause time so I can just read all of these. And yeah.
If only we had the click remote. That's what we would use it for.
Yeah. Truly. Yeah. That and writing and also like napping.
Oh, well, of course. That's a good. And then my last one, my last book is The Golem and the Jinni by Helene Wecker. Demi, have you heard of this book? It was kind of a breakout novel a while ago.
I think I remember seeing it, but I haven't read it. So,
It's quite beautiful. It's not necessarily like a romantic love story, if I remember correctly, but it is a love story about these 2 people from the old country, the Middle East, but they're monster. I don't want to say monsters. They're creatures One is a golem, which is from Judaism, and the other
Hmm.
is a jinni, which is from Islamic tradition. And they both come to America each through their own way. And it's a story of immigration. It's a story of them meeting each other, a story of them understanding each other in this new exciting land that is New York, I think in the 1800s or the turn of the century or something like that. And yeah, it's just another book that made me feel at the end like, wow, that was such an adventure. I don't want to say an adventure like Amina Al Sarafi, where it's like very plot driven, but
Hmm.
very, I would almost say there was a slow burn, but there was such a payoff for that slow burn.
Hmm. Oh, okay. Yeah, man, you have good Rex right now. Like anything where it's like, I don't remember the details, but I remember it like spoke to my soul. Like those are the books that I love, where it's you just read it and you're so in it that you like kind of don't remember any of it afterwards, other than how
Yeah,
you felt. Those are the best books. Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah. So for creatures, I have a few. So I'll just start. Of course, Frankenstein. I feel like I have to say Frankenstein because I waited so long to read this because I was an English major. We actually didn't have to read it in college, so I didn't read it, and then I just kept putting it off and off because I was like, oh, I don't want to read, you know, something that feels academic or like something I would read in school. And then I read it and I loved it. I was like, this is such a good book, and I didn't realize how much it was about being human until I read it. And yeah, it just felt it just like that is one that really hit my heart. And I loved Frankenstein. So I have to say that one. Another that I really like that I always want to read in the fall for specifically for Halloween vibes, but it's long. So I think I've only read it 2 or 3 times, is The Historian by Elizabeth Kostova. Have you read that?
No, but I like the title.
Yeah, it's good. So it's kind of a Dracula retelling in a way. It's written predominantly through letters. So you read about the experience of the main character, who I think is a historian, and she gets pulled into this mystery, almost like I don't want to compare it to the Da Vinci Code, but there is like some similarities in that, but this is not as like fast paced and intense as that. That's like a thriller. This is a vampire book, so it's like a Dracula. This is a modern Dracula story, and it's
Hmm.
set. I think part of it is in the 50s, and then the rest of it is 2000s, if I remember correctly. But it goes all across Europe, so it's I think in Belgium, maybe France, like the Czech Republic, Romania, Bulgaria, like it goes all over Europe. So it just feels like I love this book for the fall vibes. I think it is also set in the fall. And then it's Dracula and it's all around Europe. So anytime I'm like, oh, I wish I could like travel, like that's when I pick up this book because I want to
Oh.
travel and be in Europe in the fall and there's a lot of history in it. It's really good. I definitely recommend it, but it is long. I don't know how many pages it is, but I feel like it's kind of a denser read, if that makes sense. Like it feels like it
Mhm.
just takes me a while to read it, but it's absolutely worth it. It's one of my favorite, definitely one of my favorite fall books. Yeah, I always think about it. It's one that, yeah, I really like. So highly recommend that to anyone who hasn't read it. It also came out, I think, like 2005 or something. So it's older, but really good if you like Dracula. That's a good one. So, and then another book that I have is just this one is kind of the opposite. It's also vampires, but just came out this year. So this is Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab, which we are actually going to be reading for our October episode. So if you want to get ahead of that, definitely go pick up that book. We're going to release the episode around Halloween. So this is V.E. Schwab is one of my favorite authors, which has probably come up on this podcast. If it
Mhm.
hasn't yet, welcome. This is one of my favorite authors. I love her books. And this one is essentially her vampire book. So she said she was inspired by Interview with a Vampire, which I actually have not read. Have you read that?
I tried to read it, and it was a DNF for me.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was good. I think I was just too young, to appreciate the book.
Yeah.
I think I made it halfway through. It was good. I think I was just too young to appreciate it. Fun fact, a quote that I really like is from Mark Twain, who
Mhm.
says a classic is a book that everyone praises but no one reads. And I always thought that was the funniest quote because very rarely can I get myself to actually finish a classic book. Classic to me being anything from 1980. I can maybe count on one hand the number of classic books I finished, but Frankenstein is one of them. And I agree, Frankenstein is a fantastic book.
Because it's like so good. That's really also just that's really funny that Mark Twain said that because now he would be considered that.
The irony.
It's so funny. And
I
I'm like,
bet
have
he'd find
I
that really
finished a Mark
humorous.
Twain book? I guess I have, but um that's funny. Yeah, I feel that way. I don't know. I almost have the opposite where I experience where I'll think that and then I pick up something that's like a classic, like 1984. I was like, oh, I'll read it because I'm an English major, whatever. I had this period where I was like, I'm going to try to read everything that feels like it's in the canon. So I read 1984, and that's one of my favorite books, if not my favorite book. It's so good. I was like, okay, I get it. Like, I get why. And the same with
That's
Frankenstein.
it.
It's like, I
Yeah.
understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then some of them, well, we won't go into this, but but not all of them are like that. But yeah, so Bury Our Bones in the Midnight Soil by V.E. Schwab is vampires. It is, I would say it's darker. It is a vampire book. And these are vampires. Like they're not you know, Twilight or even a just
Sultry. It can
yeah.
be changed by the love of a good woman.
Yes. Well, I mean, in this case, well, once you read the book, they can be changed just in a different way.
Interesting. Intrigue.
So yeah, so the vampires are interesting and I thought there are some I don't want to give any spoilers, but the way that she wrote the vampires and presented them, this was a book that really made me think afterwards. Like it left me with just the feeling of like, what does it mean to be human? And what does it mean, like different like power dynamics and power imbalances and things like that. So I really like this book, and it's also one that I feel I wanted to savor when I was reading it, which I felt about The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, which is also her book, and we've talked about that one a little bit offline. I don't think we have on the podcast, but both of these books were ones where I wanted to just kind of be in the story and just appreciate the story. It wasn't something where I was like, not that it wasn't pulling me on along narratively, but it's one where I just wanted to sink into it. I don't know if that makes any sense. And then it afterwards, it really lingered with me. It's something that just stayed with you. So yeah, I'm excited for us to talk about this, which we will. We'll go into more details in a future episode. Okay, so those were our overall topics. Let's talk about just general fall vibes. So Marianne really delivered on this one. So I'm going to just give my one that I had for this, which is I have not read this for forever. I don't know if it's labeled as sci-fi or fantasy. In my mind, it's fantasy, but it's The Humans by Matt Haig. Have you read this?
No, but that's two Matt Haig books that we have on here. So, because mine also has a Matt Haig book, so I'm excited to read it.
Oh my God. I read it. It might have been was it his debut book? I don't know. I read it years ago, like literally a decade ago, and it is so good. I love this book. It's about an alien who is pretending to be human as I think he's a math professor. So it has like that academic setting. It's been, like I said, it's been a decade since I read it. I want to reread it soon. Actually, I bought it to reread. But in my mind, it has that fall feel. I don't actually know if it does. So take this one with a grain of salt. But I love this book. If you want to read a book where you're just like, wow, that was such a good book. And it's one, like you said, where it was really good. And then at the end, I just felt so much kind of like love for life. It's one that's really, I just love it. I could say I'll say that 1,000 times. I love this book so much. So it's a really good one if you want kind of an academic setting that's maybe not, witches. It's an alien instead. So it's a little different.
That sounds
Yeah.
like it might be a theme for Matt is, the lesson of loving life. Because that's pretty much I think the main point of The Midnight Library by Matt Haig. The
Yeah.
subject matter, again, is a little dark. It's about a woman who tries to unalive herself, but she goes on an adventure I won't say
Mhm.
anything more. But I
A
think
library's
really
involved.
a library is involved. And it's a very, I think it's a very good book in terms of for fall, fall being a season of change. And there's also a bit of melancholiness to fall. There's a bit of
Mm.
melancholy to fall that comes from that sense of change. And so I think this book fits that really well. Speaking of change, I would also pick Demi, one of our favorite books that we have in common, which is The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex Harrow.
Yeah, thank you for putting this on here. This is one of my favorite books. This is like gonna sound so silly, but I got this book and I read it in January because I thought it was about January. And it is not. Like I think it is set in the fall.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
I think so.
I don't remember, but it's also very much a book about change and being
Yeah,
in between, like the in between state of things.
yeah. I love that. That's a book. Yeah, if you haven't read 10,000 Doors of January, that's one that I recommend to so many people, and everyone who I recommend it to loves it. It's like so good. Yeah. I love that you put that on here. But yeah, you do not
Thank
have to
you.
read it in January, which is what I thought. And that's when I read it. So,
Yeah. The main character's name is January, right?
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Completely different.
All right, Demi. Next, I have my most recent book, or I would say most recently published book, which is The Sea of Tranquility by Emily St. John Mandel. So, this is really interesting just from a literary perspective. So, this book was published in 2022, and you could really see the influence of the pandemic on this book, which I
Mm.
thought was really interesting because I wonder if she was writing it while the pandemic was happening or she wrote it and then the pandemic happened. I'm not sure. I would love to interview her. But it's more, I would almost say it's more of a sci-fi than it is a fantasy. But it is very, again, just for me, when I think about fall, I think about a sense of melancholy from change. And this book is that. I would say that is the main theme of this book. It is a time travel book starting from Vancouver Island in 1912 to a dark colony on the moon 500 years later. A pandemic plays a role,
Oh,
and I will not say more.
I did not know that because I have it because I read Station 11. Have you read Station 11? It's
No, but I saw that. I have that on my to be read list because I really like this book.
because that one is about a pandemic, but it was I don't remember when I read it. I don't know when it came out. But her writing is so good. I remember reading her book and I just loved like every line. I have a friend who read Station 11 during like lockdown in 2020 and was like, do not recommend, don't do that. So hopefully we don't have another pandemic, knock on wood, but if we do, don't read that book then. But so that's interesting. That seems to be a theme for her. I have Sea of Tranquility. It's sitting on my bookshelf. I haven't read it yet, but maybe I should because a time travel book that sounds like something I need right now. That sounds fun. Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought it was really interesting that they live on the moon. Just something that I thought was really interesting. They live on the moon and the ghetto or the poor side or is the side that ran out of electricity. So they're in perpetual darkness. And I just thought that was so interesting because that probably is what would happen if we were on the moon. That sounds like a realistic sense of like how society could operate in on the moon. So I feel like she thought it through. It wasn't like the world building or the future building seemed really grounded in reality, and I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. Okay. Man, I feel like you have given me so many books to read.
So little
So many
time.
recommendations. Yeah. I love it. Okay. What else do you have?
And this is my last one. Of course, I'm going to have a Brandon Sanderson book. This is Yumi and the Nightmare Painter. It came out after Tress and the
Ooh.
Emerald Sea. It is one of his secret projects. Remember when I told you that he wrote books on accident in the pandemic? Speaking of the pandemic. So, this is one of his books that he accidentally wrote. It is amazing. I actually liked it more than Tress.
Ooh,
It is
is it
so good.
standalone?
It is a standalone book and it's not very cosmic. It's actually, I would almost say, even less Cosmere heavy than Tress of the Emerald Sea.
Okay.
And the book is also, funny enough, it's also set in a planet of perpetual darkness. So How
I love how you
interesting.
have like themes across like all of your recommendations. That's so
Didn't
funny.
mean to. Didn't mean to. Just kind of happened. I think, well, and I think of fall, like I just kind of went through my like list of books I've read and I thought which one makes me feel like it's fall. And so that's kind of how I picked it. So you can kind of see what I think about subconsciously when I think of fall. Perpetual darkness
Darkness.
plays a role, which is again funny because I'm in California. So where the heck did I get that?
Yeah. Well, yeah, come here, come north. We definitely have a lot more darkness for you. Man, now I'm like, what am I going to read next?
Well, can I give you the plot real quick? Because I think you'll like it. I think you'll be interested.
With spoilers or without spoilers?
Okay, we can move on.
You're like, okay, never mind. But it sounds, I'm assuming the characters are good because I like the characters of trust. I thought that was good. So yeah. So is it one that's going to make me, am I going to cry if I read this since it's a planet of darkness?
I don't think
Or,
you'll cry. And also, what's interesting about this book is it's about two young people. So it's like kind of his
hmm,
first, not his first, because he has a lot of other YAs, but I would almost put this as a YA novel within the Cosmere. So the young people are annoying because they're,
oh,
but that's part, like he does it on purpose. So I just want to let you know, in case you get annoyed by the characters, they're supposed to be annoying. Like, you know,
okay.
most teenagers are.
That's good to have that warning because yeah, I can that's one thing that I can't do. If I'm annoyed by the main character, I'm like, yeah, I can't. That sounds fun though. I want to read more Sanderson, but starting a series right now, especially since you just gave me like 15 books right here that all sound really good. Starting a series feels very overwhelming right now. So I like the idea of another standalone to maybe check out. So let's talk about what we are going to read. So this fall, we will see if this happens. For I swear, since Cemetery Boys came out, I mentioned it earlier, but Cemetery Boys by Aidan Thomas, that has been on my to read list every fall since the book came out, and I'll place it on hold at the library. I'll wait to get the book, and then there's so many people who put it on hold that I never get the book. And I like it's to the point now where I feel like this is like I could just go buy the book, but maybe I'm supposed to read it through the library. It's like when will I actually get it through the library? Like now it's like a game. So we will see. But I do have a hold on it. We will see if this is the year where I get to actually read this book. If not, maybe next year I'll buy it or do something like get an audiobook or something. And then the other one that I think I'm going to read is Misery by Stephen King. So I am not a huge Stephen King fan. My brother and my dad, I think have read all of his books. Like they know all of them. Have you read Stephen King?
No, same thing. I'm a little intimidated by him. I don't know why.
Yeah, because it does feel like I think because there's so many, and then also like I mean he's the king of horror, and I don't read a
Exactly.
ton of horror, so I don't want to be scared. So I'll ask my dad and brother, be like, can you give me a recommendation that's not going to like terrify me? Also, his books are pretty long because I was like, oh, I'll read it because I saw something that was talking, I thought it was about a clown and it's not. It's about, I think your nightmares come to life or your fears or something like that. And I was like, oh, that sounds interesting, but it's super long. And my brother, my brother was like, well, you're really committing to it if you read that book. So, but Misery is about an author. So my dad recommended it, so I want to read it, but then I'm kind of scared because I'm writing. I'm hopefully going to have a book published soon. So it feels like it would be interested in it, but then my brother was like, well, it's kind of like the dark side of being an author, so you may or may not want to read it. So I'm like still I'm kind of, do I read it this fall or am I too scared to read it? So
So maybe
that's
it's
where I
more
am.
of a, so both of your to be reads are more like to be read? Question mark.
Question mark. Yeah, exactly. I'm currently reading The Familiar by Lee Bardugo, who wrote Ninth House. And this one I would say I'm only 50 pages in, I think. It does have some fall vibes. It's set in Spain. I actually don't know what the time period is. Maybe like the 1600s or 1500s or something like that. It's back in time. And there's some magic in it so far. I just started, so I don't have a ton of detail, but it's like set in Spain with this character who's a maid for a wealthy household.
Um,
And yeah, and it's so far it's fun. She has magic. I don't know what are spoilers yet and what aren't because am only 50 pages in, so I'm just not going to say a ton, but I'm liking it so far. So that's probably my main fall book. And then we will see. I'm seeing my brother soon, so he's going to bring me some Stephen King books he's going to recommend because I was asking him. So we'll see what he brings, and then we'll see if I read Stephen King. I've read Fairy Tale by Stephen King, which was good. It doesn't feel like fall to me. That feels like a spring book for some reason. But if you want something a little, I wouldn't even say it's scary. Like it's scary, but it's not like a horror in the way that I think of like a horror movie where I'm like terrified, you know? So that one was good. And then I read Cell by Stephen King since I'm just talking about Stephen King now. So I read Cell, which that one's older and it's about cell phones that like turn people into zombies. So
Like the Futurama episode of cell phones that turn people into zombies. Well,
oh, is
slave
that?
zombies. It's a good episode.
Oh, yeah, I haven't seen that. But anyway, so that's my experience with Stephen King besides his writing book, which is not fiction. So so we will see. But I may be reading a Stephen King book this fall. So those are the ones that I'm possibly reading, which is kind of how I treat my TBR list of these are books that I will read at some point in the future and I intend to read them, but I'm also a huge mood reader. So it tends to come down to what am I in the mood for reading right now?
Yeah. For me, Demi, I think a lot of the books that you brought up are probably going to be on my to be read list as well. This is not much of a fall book, but I just want everyone to know that I am reading Sword of Kaigen by M.L. Wang, and it is so good. It's like I think it's another high fantasy book, totally subverted expectations. So I went into this book thinking it was a YA novel. I didn't know much about the book. I just heard it was good, so I downloaded it and started listening to it. And at first, the main character was a 14-year-old boy. So I was like, oh, okay, it's a YA high fantasy. I'm fine with that. But actually, the book is about him and his mom. So his mom is one of the main characters, and I just found that so unique. That a mom is like a part of this fantasy world, and just really interesting. And also, it's inspired by Japanese, I believe, and Korean culture for its fantasy element, whereas I think we're used to European as being the inspiration. So I just thought it was really interesting, really good, just a fun read. I hear that it might get dark, so I'll keep you guys updated. But if it's good, maybe we could do an episode on it. If it's not, if it doesn't, ruin my life with sadness, I'll keep you updated. Another book that I really want to get into, N.K. Jemisin. I hear that she is absolutely amazing. I am thinking of The Killing Moon. A couple of people have suggested that to me because it's based on ancient Egyptian mythology, which is kind of cool.
Oh,
so I might try that out. But like you said, it's very much I have to be in the mood for ancient Egyptian mythology for me to read it. Which sometimes I am, like every nerd goes through their Greek phase and their Egyptian phase. So who knows, one day.
Oh my God. Yeah, I definitely had both of those. Egypt, I feel like it started with me did you read the Goosebumps book? Goosebumps. Hello. That would be fall book, Rex. Any Goosebumps book if you want a kid's book. But I think was it just called The Mummy? There was a Goosebumps book that was set in Egypt and they had a sequel to it. And I was like obsessed with that. I was so obsessed.
It sounds vaguely familiar. And also, just so you know, the Disney Plus new Goosebumps show is really good. It's actually very good. I need to watch it. That's probably going to be my Halloween watch is Goosebumps season 2. I also really want to get into Octavia Butler, specifically Parable of the Sower, which I hear is freakishly prophetic for Los Angeles. And I am from Los Angeles, especially in terms of like a fire that wreaks havoc on the community. So I really want to read it. Again, I have to be in the mood to be a little sad. So we'll see. But yeah, I would love to read some Octavia Butler. And then recently, my friend told me that Golem and the Ginny actually just had a sequel released. So I might have to read Golem and the Ginny 1 to brush up on what happens. And then maybe I'll read book 2.
Oh, yeah. All of those sound good. I've read Octavia Butler. I read Kindred, but yeah, I haven't read anything else.
How'd you like it?
It was good. I read it for school in college. And yeah, I remember I really liked it. I remember I was scared in it. It was kind of time travel
That's not a good sign, Demi. Not a good sign for me.
But I was scared. Yeah, I wouldn't classify that one as a fall book.
Okay.
That feels like a summer read to me. So, but
Okay.
I liked it. Yeah, I really liked her writing. So that's good to hear. And then N.K. Jemisin, it's so funny you say that because I was literally just working on a list of books to read next year for the book club. And I had so many people recommend the fifth season, which is a series. That's the first book in a series. So I was like, that sounds fun. But I mean, I don't know if The Killing Moon is standalone. That might be one to do. But so maybe we'll have some N.K. Jemisin and.
Ooh, okay. Well, in that case, I take it back. On my to be read list is N.K. Jemisin, the fifth season, since we're probably going to do an episode about it.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. I haven't heard of The Killing Moon, so that makes me want to check that out. Yeah. Well, those are all of the books we had today. I mean, I feel I didn't count, but we have a lot of books here. So I think that there's a lot for people to go through and read for this fall. Because I feel like I definitely am not going to get through all of these this year. This is now my like TBR for the fall for the next like 5 years at this rate, unless I start reading faster, which is the goal. So,
right.
Well, thank you everyone for listening. We have so many recommendations here. I feel like this was like 20 books or so. So there's a lot for us to go through and read now.
Yeah, Demi, I think I am going to go light some candles as part of my manufactured California fall. And I'm just going to start reading because, man, this conversation fired me up and I am in the fall spirit.
Yeah, it fired you up to start a very safe and controlled fire to read.
Yes, of course. I am responsible.
Yeah, same. I think I'm ready for it's sunny out right now, but maybe it'll rain tomorrow and I'll have an excuse to start reading one of these fall books. So thank you everyone for listening. If you have any recommendations, please share them with us. And also, if you have any themes that you would like for us to cover, we're going to start doing a few more of these theme episodes in addition to the actual book club episodes. So that way, if you haven't actually read the book or you haven't read the book yet, that way you have some episodes you can listen to where we'll give some recommendations and you don't have to worry about spoilers if you want to get some more ideas as well. So thank you, everyone. Happy early fall. We hope you enjoy the books and we'll see you in the next episode. We hope you enjoyed this episode, and we're actively working to record the next one. If you'd like more inspiration in the meantime, follow More Magic and the Little Ways on Substack, which we've linked to in the show notes below. Have a book you want us to discuss? Head over to moremagicpodcast.com and tell us what book we should read next. Until next time, happy reading, and we wish you more magic.